Hi, this is Leslie Miller, the Professor Miller, who is going to be talking a little bit about letterform design today. Just a couple of details and a quick presentation here to get you a little bit more information on how actually the letterforms that you see in typefaces are designed. So in looking at this, I pulled up a couple letters large on screen so you can kind of see a little bit more of the detail on the page. So when the best typographers are designing entire alphabets, I just want to show that it's a little more complicated than you might think. And I think it's real important that designers learn how this is done as well, so that when they're working and choosing typefaces for their projects, that they're choosing them wisely. So again, when typographers are working with the letters, they are looking at every single little detail in the design. They have to pay close attention to each of these little nuances on the glyphs that they're designing, because when you put them on the baseline, as you see here, and I've got the X height noted as well, you can't just have them mathematically the same height. You have to go for what's the optical height. And you can kind of see how some of these are stretching above here. The G, the H kind of fits right in that area, so does the I. But if there's some rounding of the letters, it will go below the baseline or above that X height area. And then there are some letters, of course, that are almost mirror images of each other in certain typefaces, where they're not exactly mirror images in other typefaces, as you see down here. This one down here is Baskerville. This one is Avenir. So looking at these details, again, they are done optically as opposed to mathematically. So if we look a little bit closer in detail here, I pulled up some letters really large on screen so you could see this a little bit closer. Now I'm looking here at the baseline, and I've just highlighted that here with the orange line. So to make it appear like it's sitting or resting on that baseline, anything that's round is going to have to go a little bit beyond the baseline. You can see here, down here in the stem of the B or the A, it's resting right about on it. But the B, that's the circle here, the O, the G, they're all coming a little bit below that baseline. If you shift them up a little bit and have them rest where that little tip is touching, they're going to look like they're sitting too high. So this way, when the typographers design, they have this in their mind, and so they know how to go and extend below that baseline, as you see here on this bottom area too. Now the G is a whole nother element to work with. Here you see a two-story G, and I'm not going to get into that in this discussion today. That would be for another day. But basically with this, I want you to realize that you have to exceed baseline and X height, and again, go optically with what you're looking at so that the letters look fine and normal on the page that they're on. Another really interesting thing that type designers work with are the balancing of shapes. Now, this first B on the page, as you see right here, looks a little bit off. And for that reason, it doesn't look like it should be fitting well on the page, whereas this one in the middle fits better and looks like a regular B. Well, this first one, I actually have this counter area here in the middle, the same on the bottom as it is on the top, which is not a B. I just created that one myself so that you can see it feels too heavy on the top. It feels like it's going to fall over. Whereas when type designers work on their work, you'll notice in the B's you're looking at, in the uppercase B's, this top area here is smaller. It doesn't extend as far, it's not as tall, and those things are taken into consideration. So the counter on the top does not have to be exactly the same as the counter on the bottom. Again, it will be more balanced this way, optically. Again, it's not working mathematically. So again, the counter of the B here doesn't have to be exactly the same as a counter of a P. We have a P here at the end. So if that bottom part was here on the top, again, that would feel really heavy and like it's going to fall over. So you have to kind of balance the letter forms on the page, the individual letter forms or glyphs as you see them. And there has to still, though, with that, making them different sizes, you need to also have a relationship between the amount of white space inside a B, like we see here, and the amount of white space you see inside of a P, because there still needs to be that connection within the typeface throughout all the letters. So another thing to take a look at here in making a lowercase r, for instance, I just pulled one letter out here to kind of show you a little detail on this. It's not just an N like you see here on this first one that's just cut off and has like an amputated leg here. This is what it would look like. That would feel abruptly ending, and basically your R is going to get very weak and soft. You can make it much stronger like you see in this last one on the right here if you let the ending of the R follow the horizontal reading direction. And then now the space on the right side of the R is going to be more open, much more balanced, and it's not going to disturb the rhythm of your type because the right side bearing can be much smaller. The whole letter can be made narrower as well. All right. So the white space on top of the R could be changed as well, but you don't want to confuse an R with an N on the page. So here they kind of take the starting of this, but see how this kind of curves up a lot more and has a nice little ball terminal there as well. So there's a couple little different nuances when you're looking at the glyphs in type. So to come to the end of this, make forms optically the same. And as a graphic designer, that's a lot of things we're looking for is do things optically look okay on screen or on the page? Same works with type if you're getting into type design. So balance things and make sure nothing looks awkward. So next time when you look at type and how it flows together to make words on the page, take time and pay attention to the individual glyphs or letters on the page. There's great attention to detail when creating these typefaces that the type designers do. A lot of work and attention to detail and patience needs to be some of the qualities they have in order to pay attention and make things work so well together as they do. So thank you for listening. This was a quick introduction on how letterforms are created and the nuances that can be shown in detail when you're looking at these letterforms up close.